Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Ron Jaworski with us today. Ron is CEO at Trinity Audio. Ron is a voice and audio enthusiast, and Trinity is a voice company. Of course, he's a speaker. He's an official member of Forbes Business Council and contributor on Entrepreneur.com. He's in Tel Aviv. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. Today's going to be fun. Podpire presenting this podcast. Podpire is my podcasting company. If you want to get on podcast, if you want to start a podcast to generate leads, investors, partners, you can go to podpire.com. Ron, I'm glad to have you on. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me, Charles. It's great to be here. Today, I'm actually on the verge of flying. I'm flying to on Saturday morning to a large media and publishing summit in Denver, in Vail, in Colorado, which is a couple of hours from Vail. Going to meet with a lot of large news and sports and finance publications, see how we can help them to audify their content and have it available for everybody everywhere in an audio form. Of course, as you said, I'm an audio enthusiast.
And what is Trinity doing specifically? What can it do that ChatGPT can't, for example?
Uh, so first of all, ChatGPT can do anything. Uh, so I'm not sure if this is the right competitor, but in any way, Trinity Audio was established in 2018. The vision that we saw is that every textual asset content should be have a diverted in an audio form. And the first usage, of course, for everybody is accessibility. Blind, visually impaired, low reading skills, language barrier, and so on. But at the end of the day, most of our users, from what we have seen, are just busy folks that have their eyes busy because they are, I don't know, driving or cooking or jogging and doing thousands of different other chores, but they still want to consume content. They want to be efficient. They want to multitask, and we offer them that exactly. I would say that the media landscape, the same manner that it moved from newspapers, magazine to online, and from online, social and video, audio is the next obvious thing. It's not the next thing. It's actually happening right now. And so this is what Trinity Audio does. We provide with publishers and content creators simple way to integrate text-to-speech solution and have their content available in audio form, distribute it to audio platform or on the website itself, and of course capitalize on it. Monetize it, whether with some use it to increase subscriptions, some use it for ad monetization, and some just add it as a service for the user to increase engagement. So it's a win-win-win situation.
Love that. Who is using you? I believe some large publication companies like Medium or Substack have that technology integrated in. And I saw that you target law firms, book publishers, accounting pros, health professionals, and so forth. What company is using your solution and why are they specifically using you?
Our main focus is the publisher landscape, um, for two main reasons. Me and the founders, my co-founders, come from the ad tech industry, so we're familiar with publisher, we're familiar with advertiser. We understand the landscape. We know what the users need and want and how to provide it to them. And our business model is also one that can either be a SaaS pure model or a rev share pure model with ad monetization and anywhere in between. A large publication that use our solution are Fortune, the largest finance magazine, McClatchy, which is a huge one of the huge local news conglomerate in the US, and there are many other names and brands that are using us. That's on the publisher side, but we have also large brands like Lenovo, the computer company, or Nissan, the automotive company, that power their blog with Trinity Audio, giving all the users the option to listen to the content they provide over their newsroom. So that's a couple of different names, and I would say a couple of different locations where our branded our player is shown.
Interesting. And your price point, pretty much on the high ticket side of things, starts at, well, I mean, the lower plan is $70 a month, but can go as high as $1,500 a month. Tell me about these pricing plans, and specifically like the we pay you one. That one seems quite interesting.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there are many different price range. You can go from even $5 to thousands of dollars. It mainly depends, I would say, in uh, three main data points. One, the amount of content that you are producing, how many articles or pieces of content you are producing on a monthly basis. That's the first thing. The second thing, of course, it's the amount of domains. In some cases, you have only one domain. You are a small blogger and you post, I don't know, 5 articles a month. On other cases, for example, like McClatchy, where I have more than 30 websites and publish hundreds of different articles on a monthly basis for each title. So that's the second point. So domain, amount of articles, and of course, uh, if we're talking about publishers on or not publisher, the amount of support that you need from us. If you completely do it on yourself, the integration, then the service is cheaper. Of course, if you want to do it with our support, so we will cater all your needs and make sure everything works as well. And then the pricing is different. Again, if we talk about the last part of the question about us paying them, is mainly up to the amount of traffic that a specific domain is generating. More relevant, of course, for publishers, news site, media conglomerate, less for small bloggers.
Right. And how do you acquire your customer? I see that you're a member of Forbes and media. Is that like a strategy for them to actually use the tech?
So I would say if there are a few ways. First of all, outreach, outreach, outreach. LinkedIn, emails, and that's the main thing. Then we have presence on social media, whether it's mainly LinkedIn, but not only Twitter, X. Sorry, still call it Twitter. And more and I would say that we are part of the audio IAB committee as well. So we're trying to be in all the relevant places, of course, conferences like the one I'm going to go to next week. Yeah, the usual shtick. That's basically.
Right. And how many customers do you have at that stage? You've been running that one for 7 years. So what is how many users and what user growth are you projecting?
So the amount of clients that are using our solution, we're talking about thousands of clients. We have, by the way, for those small bloggers and small website, we have also plugins for WordPress and Wix. So a lot of our clients come from those type of integration with simple opt-in, check the checkbox, and this is it. You have our solution on your website. So that's one option. Is to get our solution. That's most of our clients, I would say, in regards to the amount of different domains that are using our solution. But if we're talking about the large volumes, like the news outlet and things like that, we're talking about a few hundreds of domain. Again, mainly in the US. Although, again, we are not only active in the US, we work with Clarin, for example, which is huge in Mexico, right? Clarin is using Mexico, one of our clients. We have a UOL, a Brazilian website, huge one. I would say the MSN of Brazil, just to give some sort of comparison. So we support more than 140 different languages, so it's easy for us to be international.
And what's the future of article reading on the consumer side? Isn't it like interacting with the actual article, either asking a chatbot questions about the article or chatting with it, like a chat GPT advanced voice call?
So that's a great question. What's the future of consumption of media? Great question. I'm not sure I have the answers, but I can give you my point of view in regards to audio. So I think that one of the things that you mentioned uh, is right on the spot. The interaction, a voice interaction with an audio, uh, let's call it output, okay? And this output can be Chat GPT, but it can also be Miami Herald, one of the publications that we're working with, in the future, they will have some sort of a voice bot that you can communicate with that will give you specific parts of the news, summarization, takes of a specific journalist. So that's one way of the consumption of content that I believe will be out there in the future. But if we talk about now, we need to look about different generation in a different manner. The X generation, the Z generation, the millennials, their consumption and the way they use content. By the way, I'm going to talk a lot about it in this publisher summit. I'm going to be next week. Um, Gen Z consume 50% of their news from TikTok. Generation X, less than 3%. So it's a bit different. And the solution, the fact that you want to have an accessible content in an audio form is relevant for all of them, for all the publication, because they have that amount of Gen Z, but that amount of Gen X. And so it's important for them to have all the different manners in all the different way to have their content accessible. Now, it doesn't stop only there now, because let's talk about audio platform. What about Spotify, Apple News, and so on? That's also a place where publications, as we see it, will need to have some sort of the variety of their content there. Whether it's the top of the news or the trending articles or some sort of summarization of what's happening now. It can be maybe a channel of a specific journalist that is associated with a specific newspaper, and the AI voice that will be reading the article will be reading it in the journalist's voice. So the consumption of audio and the consumption of the content in general is changing a lot. And because on one hand you have audio platform and the consumption of content over there, you have the option to consume audio on the publication itself. And of course, how do you serve it to the different generation? Whether it be bits of content for Gen Zs or a full elaborated message for Gen X. I think you need to serve all of their needs. And this is what we're trying to do.
Do you think that short bits of content are more prone to disinformation? Don't you think that younger gens are mostly consuming garbage information nowadays?
So I think, again, this is my opinion. I think that young people are consuming garbage. You know, they consume content that is not, let's call it, there's no fact checking for most of the content they consume on TikTok, and they go with influencers that basically don't have any journalist background, things like that. So I think that after a while, people that will start consuming content will understand that they also are looking for something that they can trust, that they think is right. And I think the rise of journalism back again, as they get older, they will go there. They will want to go to somebody that they know, that the content that they are producing, the content that they are sending over social network or publication, doesn't really matter, has facts, facts checking behind it, editorial team behind it. At the end of the day, you don't want to be the guy in the party that talk stupid things and people look at him weird. Might be nice when you're younger. When you're getting older, it's less cool. So I don't think it's the other way around. I think that they'll be saturated with bad content, so they will start looking for, okay, where can I get real content? Where can I get somebody that what he's saying is something that I can at least check if it's right or wrong.
Right. What's your take on fact checking stuff? It seems pretty hard to do. Twitter has attempted it. I think it was sort of clumsy. Is it just an AI that takes that data and digests it and mentions back, okay, this is true, this is not true? For example, I have a Truth GPT that I use nowadays. I feed it articles and LinkedIn posts, which is quite funny. Most of them are total bullshit. Um,
That's a
like,
great one.
yes,
I would
do
love to
you?
use it.
Yeah, I'll send you my True GPT. I can send you the link right after we're done. Do you think it's as simple as that, or do most humans have their own truths and there are no global truths?
Whoa. Ah, Another great question. So let's start with the philosophical level. Yes, I think people have their own truth, and at least to some extent. Um, But I think that on the larger scale of things, we need to look completely different on social media and influencers on social media versus journalists. Now, I don't say the journalists always say the truth, of course not, but
Researchers,
they,
maybe, yeah.
yeah, but they need to hold to some criteria. Okay,
Yeah.
a journalist that will keep on lying all the time on a specific on a magazine or a newspaper that respect themselves, they will probably kick them off. You know,
Yep.
they will sack them. So you need to hold some sort of a criteria, and that's when I go to when I go to the New York Times or when I go to any other newspaper, it doesn't really matter if it's a local newspaper or national one, large one. I tend to be more I tend to see that the author, the journalist, is trying to bring facts to the table, or at least he gives me options so I can check if what he's writing about is true or not. He brings sources. In some cases, if it's a large magazine article. At, at the end, there will be some sort of bibliography, so I can check where the resources or things like that. On social media, I don't have anything. So on social media, if I want to, I don't know, if I want to get mad about something, then I will go to read either the politician that I hate or the influencer that I love to see what's going on. But it's mainly on the emotional side. When I want
Right.
to go to understand what's going on, then I'll probably go read some sort of a journalist. And I think that's where we're going right now.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like sometimes we CEOs and founders work like really serious, but we need like serotonin shots or own version of watching TikToks. I don't watch TikToks, but for example, I will watch humoristic stuff, or I have a humoristic
Mhm.
newsletter nowadays that I drop that's pretty entertaining, and I sort of need that for my mental sanity. But I am mostly about facts, right? Like if I want the truth on something, I know where to go for facts. In my case, it's a mix of a lot of things, right? Research and research aggregations, tools like perplexity.ai. I feed it to a bunch of AIs as well. I double check the information on everything, and yeah, I come up to a conclusion. Now, when it comes to personalized voice, you mentioned the journalist's voice. Shouldn't the user choose like what type of voice is talking to him, and what would define the best voice to me? For example, when I'm chatting with ChatGPT, I mean, I don't have a lot of options, but I think it's like an African American type of voice, right? So somehow I preferred that. Then I had it speak faster, right? Because I want to digest like the information as quick as possible. So, what criterias? Well, first, should the voice be customized to the user, and second, how should the user choose what features the voice have to their personal needs and wants?
So for the time being, the publisher is the one that is choosing the voice and not the user. Um, as we see it, we believe that the brand behind the newspaper are the journalists. So we believe that in the future, the more again journalists need to approve it and accept and want to be part of it, of course. But we will clone the voices of journalism with their approval and give the user the option to consume the content in the journalist voice. I think it makes sense. I think it creates a better engagement. In many cases, I don't care about who is writing the article because I just want to see the facts and what's going on and get updated. And in some cases, I have some emotional connection to the writer, to the journalist, because this is a topic that he's covering or she's covering for a long time and talks about what I need, want, or a specific time in a era in my life that is relevant for me, or just I like the opinion. I like the way he writes specifically, and this is she writing in, and this is why I follow him. And I would also would love to hear the article that he writes in his own voice. But the choice on of doing that, it's on the publisher. Uh, what we do have, which the user can choose in which language he want to consume the content. So, for example, on Fortune. you can consume the content, of course, in English. But if you prefer to consume it on Spanish, there is a small button you can click on it, and we will automate translate the full article and give you the option to listen to it in a different language. So it can be Spanish, and in the case of Fortune, again, it's also Chinese and Dutch and French and Italian, I think. So you have the option as a user to choose which type of language you want to consume the content, which I think super cool.
Do you think the media publishing industry is healthy right now? Like, haven't they massively declined since paper wasn't a thing? And then with the recent upcoming of AI, people are not consuming their information much there, although I still think it's valuable, like New York Times and LA Times and so forth. But do you think it's in decline since the last decade or two?
It's in decline. First of all, journalism, newspapers are in decline for the last couple of decades. That's no doubt. The digital
Is a
space,
the final nail in the coffin? Like, will, for example, will the Washington Post survive Jeff Bezos' acquisition?
I think, will they survive? Yes. Will it still be the same newspaper? That's a good. That's another question. Uh, um, I think I think there is always, but again, maybe because I'm a boomer, I'm saying that. But I think there is always value for somebody that does research and looking for the truth. I think that we know, both me and you, and I guess a lot of the listeners that use ChatGPT, that are using Claude, that are using Gemini, that in many cases he made thing up. I test from time to time. I ask them question about my company, about myself, about other things are available on the web, and they mess it up a bit. So I don't think that AI is still there, and I think there's always a need for somebody that will do the research, that will take the different data, that will take different opinions, and will bundle it up all together into an article, into some sort of a textual asset that give us hopefully the full picture, but if not the full picture, that at least shed light on the story. And I don't think that with AI we're still there. Another thing which is important, AI needs content to create the content for us. And somebody need to create the basic content that AI is using to give us all of that amazing things that chat or any other are giving us. So for I use ChatGPT a lot with my emails. Of course, I'm from Israel. English is not my first language, although I speak it quite fluently. I use it for my emails and for ChatGPT to know how to change my email correctly. He needs to have thousands or millions of different examples of how your email should be written in English. Same thing if we do a research, if he doesn't have the data, we can make it up, of course, but then this is not what we're looking for. So I think there's still time, and I think that uh, I think that newspapers and journalists will need a way to reinvent themselves, like many, many, many industries. Not only due to the AI revolution that we see right now, but there are revolutions going on all the time, all the time. The print revolution, more than 500 years ago, was also a major thing, and people survived it by the adoption of new technology, changing the way they interact, changing the way they consume content, and so on. And there's actually a fun fact. Actually, when at the beginning, everybody talks about Gutenberg, a printing machine it was the 15th century or something else, 16th century, I don't remember. And everybody talk about it, like what happened then, and everybody said, "Oh my God, books will be everywhere. What will happen? We will have no control on information. What we'll do? Will they know it's true or not?" Sounds familiar, right? 500 years later, we're still doing the same discussion. Just now, we're talking about AI instead of printing
Yeah,
things.
humans are fear-based creatures. That's how we think to survive at first, right? And every time there's something new and unknown, I think we'll default to fear. So I think that's healthy, right? Because then it brings dialogue and it brings discussion and potential A/B test and improvements. Ron, where can people find out more about you?
So first of all, Ron Jaworski over LinkedIn, Trinity Audio. I love to have conversation about audio, so ping me anytime, anywhere. I'll love to do it. Beside that, if somebody is in a DJ publisher event in Vail, Colorado next week, come by and say hello, or just email me, ron@trinityaudio.ai. We'll be
That
more
was
than glad to chat.
Ron Jaworski and Charles Cormier for an